Heinkel Tourist. The Heinkel Tourist is a motor scooter made by Heinkel Flugzeugwerke from 1953 to 1965. More than 100,000 were manufactured and sold. The Tourist was sold as an upscale scooter. It was more expensive than a Vespa or a Lambretta, and was generally heavier, more comfortable, and more stable. It was available with a speedometer, a steering lock, a clock, a luggage carrier, and a spare wheel. It was referred to in England as the Rolls-Royce of Scooters and was advertised by a dealer in Massachusetts as the Cadillac of Scooters. The Tourist had a tubular steel frame to which pressed steel body panels were mounted. The engine of the Tourist was mounted in the frame and drove the rear wheel by a chain enclosed in the swingarm. Thus sheltered, the chain ran in a sealed oil bath, extending its life and preventing any oil from contacting either scooter or rider. The engines used in Heinkel Tourists were four-stroke, while most other scooters of the time, including the Heinkel 150 light scooter from the 1960s, had two-stroke engines. Production. Heinkel's first prototype scooter was built in 1949. Production of the Tourist began in 1953. The Tourist was manufactured in 5 series: the 101 Aero 1953-1954, the 102 Aeon 1954-1955, the 103 Aero 1955-1957, the 103 Aeon 1957-1960, and the 103 Atwo 1969. 101 Aero. The Tourist 101 Aero was the first series of Heinkel Tourist, the only series with a 149cc 9.1 Kuhn engine, and the only series with a kickstarter. Production began in April 1953. The 3-speed transmission was actuated by a twist grip on a tubular steel handlebar. In June 1954, the electrics were uprated from 6V to 12V to accommodate the addition of an electric starter at that time. Production of the 101 Aero ended 2 months later. 6,500 Tourist 101 Aeros were built. 102 Aeon. Production of the 102 Aeon series began in July 1954. The main changes from the 101 Aero were the larger engine, which had been bored and stroked to a capacity of 174cc 10.6 Kuhn, the absence of a kickstarter, and the use of the 12V electrics and an electric starter, as on the last of the 101 Aeros. A glove box was included behind the leg shield. The speedometer was mounted on the glove box. 17,500 Tourist 102 Aeons were built before production ended in August 1955. 103 Aero. Production of the 103 Aero series began in August 1955. 103 series Tourists had 4-speed transmissions and 10-inch wheels, enlarged from the 3-speed transmissions and 8-inch wheels of earlier models. The result was a larger, heavier, and thirstier scooter on one hand, and a faster, more sophisticated scooter on the other. 34,060 Tourist 103 Aeros were reported built before production ended in September 1957. This production figure is disputed. 103 Aeon. Production of the 103 Aeon series began in September 1957. The tubular handlebars of previous series were replaced by a cast handlebar containing an instrument panel. The engine, while remaining the same in size, was improved by the use of a tube-bearing crankshaft. The engine was now mounted to the frame with rubber mounts, improving the ride. 50,050 Tourist 103 Aeons were built before production ended in June 1960. 103 Atwo. Production of the final series of Heinkel Tourist, the 103 Atwo, began in August 1960. The telescopic forks of the previous series were replaced by a 2-sided trailing link fork late in the Atwo production run. The rear body panel was restyled and was not interchangeable with those of earlier series. 55,000 Tourist 103 Atwos were built before production of the Heinkel Tourist ended on 31 December 1965. Specifications: all tourist scooters were powered by overhead valve four-stroke single-cylinder engines. Export: United Kingdom. The Coventry-based Excelsior motorcycle manufacturer began importing Heinkel Tourist scooters into the United Kingdom in late 1955. In late 1956, Noble Motors of Piccadilly became the new official importer of Heinkel scooters and bubble cars. By the end of 1957, the UK importer of Heinkel scooters was International Sales of Dublin. This may have been part of a deal by which an Irish engineering company to build the Heinkel cabine bubble car under license. Importation of the 103 Atwo began in February 1962 by Hans Motors of London, which had an all-German staff. Trojan Cars Limited, the manufacturers of the cabine under license at the time, was already selling Lambretta scooters and did not accept the offer to import Heinkel Tourists. United States. Heinkel Tourists were imported into the United States by a succession of authorized distributors. Noble Motors of London, England, 1956–57. Noble Motors did not import any motorcycles or bubble cars into North America. Eastland Motors of Brooklyn, New York, 1957, T7. International Scooters Corporation of Long Island City, New York, 1959–63. Their contracted sub-distributors were Schleichler Motors of Oakland, California, for the West Coasts, Triangle Motorcycles of Chicago, Illinois, for the Midwest, Scooterama of San Francisco, California, 1963–64. Schleichler Motors of Oakland, California, 1964–65. Approximately 350 Heinkel Tourists were sold in the United States. Heinkel Tourists in popular culture. I See by My Outfit, by American author Peter S. Beagle, recounts a cross-country New York to San Francisco journey that he and a friend accomplished on a pair of Heinkel Tourists. Though precise dates are not given in the text, context places the trip around 1960.